What happens when a port explodes like a powder keg, and it's not a figure of speech? Imagine a Black Sea night lit up by walls of fire so real that witnesses had to shield their eyes, not their imaginations. This wasn't just a dramatic story. It was a literal inferno, with flames towering high and alarms echoing across the water. For hours, the sky buzzed with waves of drones, attacking relentlessly. Videos and audio recordings confirmed what every eyewitness already knew. The assault was methodical, coordinated, and far more intense than anything seen before. But this wasn't just any cargo under fire. The port was unloading a dangerous Turkish shipment at the exact moment the attack began, raising the stakes to a whole new level. Veteran observers, people who thought they had seen it all, admitted they'd never witnessed such speed and ferocity. The chaos was so sudden, so overwhelming, that normal protocols simply broke down. Everyone from military commanders to insurance analysts was left scrambling for answers. Now, the questions are burning hotter than the flames themselves. What was really inside that Turkish cargo? How did attackers know exactly when and where to strike? And most unsettling of all, who leaked the position, turning a routine port operation into a global flashpoint? Miss the real story here, and you risk more than just misunderstanding a headline. If you're in business, shipping, defense, or policymaking, ignoring this means gambling with your money, your schedule, and your reputation. In a single night, the rules for warfare, insurance, and commerce changed, possibly forever. Let's break down exactly how this one night redrew the map for the Black Sea supply chain, and why everyone, from ship owners to generals, is rethinking every step they take. To understand what really happened, we need to dissect the timeline of the attack and uncover what made this cargo, and this night, so different from anything before. Is this just another port strike, or a meticulously planned demonstration meant to send a message far beyond the Black Sea? What happened in Odessa was no ordinary assault. It was a precise, layered attack that rewrote the rules for both defense and logistics overnight. Just before midnight, a series of coordinated strikes erupted across Odessa and its surrounding region. The main weapon? Loitering munitions of the geranium class, but not the version defenders were used to. According to several intelligence sources, these drones featured a new, jet-assisted modification, making them significantly faster and reducing the time available for air defense and electronic warfare teams to react. This technical leap had real consequences. With the drones' shortened approach times, even seasoned defenders struggled to intercept them. In rapid succession, the port's critical facilities, docks, logistics hubs, and energy nodes were targeted almost simultaneously. This was not just about hitting a single location, but about overwhelming the entire system. The result? A blackout that plunged large areas into darkness and further blunted countermeasures. The pattern was too deliberate to be random. Multiple waves of drones, timed to exploit every gap in local defenses, hammered away for hours. Evidence suggests a carefully calculated assault, using not only technological upgrades, but also precise timing, likely informed by up-to-date intelligence about port operations and cargo movements. If you dismiss these technical shifts as minor details, you risk underestimating how quickly the threat environment is evolving. These new tactics mean that every stakeholder, from military commanders to insurance companies, faces higher, faster-moving risks than ever before. But what was it about the Turkish cargo that made this operation so fierce, and why did targeting it provoke such an extraordinary response? Let's dig into the nature of that shipment and the dangerous chain reaction it triggered. Unpacking the story behind the Turkish cargo reveals why this was no ordinary shipment, and why its destruction sent shockwaves through international circles. Why did the fire tear through the Black Sea port so quickly? Was it just terrible luck, or was someone tipping off the attackers? Local sources point to a chilling possibility. The Turkish cargo at the heart of the inferno may have contained highly volatile substances. We're talking about things like rocket oxidizers, explosive components, or specialized materials engineered for advanced drone systems, items that ignite with far more fury than ordinary goods. There has been no official confirmation about the cargo's exact nature. Still, the violent pattern of explosions and the way flames consumed the port suggest it was anything but standard. The speed and intensity hint strongly at military-grade materials that respond to fire with catastrophic results. But here's what makes this even more dangerous. Every such shipment is just one vulnerable link in a long, fragile logistics chain. These operations depend on an uneasy mix of insurance cover, diplomatic loopholes, and deep secrecy. All it takes is a single weak point, and the entire system is exposed. The timing of the attack is almost too precise to ignore. The drones struck just as workers began unloading the cargo, no sooner, no later. That means the attackers had real-time intelligence, likely gathered through careful reconnaissance. But was it only drones watching, or did someone on the inside tip them off? Patterns in port operations support the insider theory. When a high-risk shipment arrives, extra trucks show up, night shifts ramp up, and sudden queues appear at entry points. Anyone keeping a close watch could sense something big was happening, and that information is gold in wartime, whether passed by locals, disgruntled workers, or even undercover agents. This is how the battle lines of modern conflict are drawn, not just on the front, but in the back rooms, loading docks, and silent digital channels of every supply chain. If we overlook the interplay between logistics and intelligence, we miss the real story. Wars today are won or lost at the weakest link in the chain. So, with this new tempo of attacks and intelligence leaks, what happens next for Black Sea trade, alliances, and the fragile balance of regional security? Let's break down how these shifting risks could force global insurers, ship owners, and military planners to rethink every move in the Black Sea theater. What does it really cost, financially and politically, when every port call might turn into a survival gamble? Behind the official statements of solidarity, the reality is far more anxious. Allies may publicly reaffirm the right to defend trade routes, but in private, there's deep concern about the sheer speed, coordination, and new penetration abilities of these drone attacks. Modernized drones, faster and more unpredictable than before, now consistently outpace classic air defense systems. This exposes a dangerous gap, the need for rapid upgrades in both hardware and trained personnel. Upgrades that take time and money, and are further complicated by blackout-induced failures in radar and communication networks. Each attack is not just a physical blow, but a direct hit to the confidence in established security measures. Every successful strike triggers a predictable but devastating chain reaction. Insurance rates for ships and cargo jump overnight. Delays multiply as captains, wary of becoming the next target, keep their vessels waiting in offshore holding patterns. With each passing week, routines break down, shipments are rescheduled, and the cost of moving goods, not to mention insuring them, skyrockets. Legal and practical limits also tie the hands of allied navies. Even when bold declarations are made, the resources and rules of engagement rarely match the scale or tempo of this new threat. The result? Security at sea becomes more about luck than law, and promises ring hollow in the face of mounting risks. But perhaps the most corrosive effect is psychological. Ship owners, insurers, and port operators now live with a heightened sense of dread. Every decision is shadowed by the question, is this journey worth the risk? As uncertainty rises, the very threshold for taking action moves higher, and even routine voyages become fraught with second thoughts. Failing to recognize these cascading effects is perilous. The financial losses, diplomatic fallout, and eroded trust in key maritime corridors threaten more than just profit. They put the entire regional supply chain and international reputation on the line. But what can be done, in practical terms, to adapt to this evolving landscape? Let's look at the lessons emerging for defense planners, business leaders, and anyone who depends on the Black Sea route. To survive and thrive in this environment, every stakeholder, from shipmaster to minister, must rethink their approach. What strategies and innovations are already being tested in response? How do you adapt when the enemy rewrites the rules overnight? This is not just a military riddle. It is now the defining challenge for every port operator, ship owner, and insurance executive with assets in the Black Sea. Old recipes, like relying on static air defenses or sticking to routine port schedules, no longer guarantee safety. Attackers are evolving faster, learning with every strike and exploiting every predictable step. The days when set protocols kept ports secure are over. To survive, defenses must shift. Mobile, layered, and energy-independent systems are now essential. Imagine countermeasures that can be redeployed at a moment's notice, radar networks that do not blink when the power grid collapses, and contingency plans that anticipate tempo changes before they happen. The ripple effects extend beyond barbed wire and anti-drone guns. Business continuity now rests on the ability to reroute cargo and crews at a moment's notice. Insurance agreements must become as dynamic as the threats, with clauses for rerouting, equipment loss, and crew evacuation built in from the start. Contingency planning is no longer a box to tick. It is the difference between a delay and a disaster. Every insider leak or intelligence lapse multiplies risk. The most advanced hardware means nothing if local counterintelligence is weak or staff vetting is sloppy. In today's reality, tightening human security measures is as critical as building physical barriers. But perhaps the hardest lesson is this. Black Sea logistics have entered an era of permanent turbulence. Wishing for a return to stability will only leave you exposed to the next shock. Adaptation starts with acceptance, and only then can a sustainable strategy take shape. Ignoring these lessons does not just mean financial loss, it means risking everything: money, reputation, even lives. The next headline could be about your company or your port, caught unprepared and exposed to the full force of a fast-evolving threat. So, what has to change in practice? And who will bear the cost if leaders keep pretending the old rules still apply? When speed beats defense, survival favors the fastest learner, not the biggest fleet. This attack proved that the new normal is vulnerability. Every layer of security, from military logistics to port fences, is now exposed to threats that evolve faster than bureaucracies can react. Precision strikes and intelligence leaks have outpaced old defenses, turning even the most fortified supply chain into a fragile target. It is no longer about how much steel you can put on the water or how many patrols you have. The real advantage now belongs to those who can adapt on the fly, spotting new patterns, rethinking old assumptions, and updating protocols faster than the opposition updates their tactics. The Black Sea event was not just a freak incident, but a glimpse into a future where unpredictable risks can shatter the calm in a single night. If you stay complacent, the next firestorm may cost more than cargo. It could mean losing control of the entire southern corridor. Insurance companies have already started rewriting policies, raising premiums, and even hinting at refusing coverage for the riskiest routes. Political leaders are scrambling for new alliances and emergency procedures. And for every business relying on these maritime arteries, reputational and financial stakes have never been higher. You cannot control every threat, but you can control how quickly you learn from them. The organizations that will thrive in this new danger zone are not necessarily the largest, but those unafraid to challenge their own assumptions. The faster you update your playbook, the further ahead you stay, because the rules have changed, and speed of adaptation is now the ultimate shield. So, ask yourself, are you still judging risk by yesterday's standards? Or are you ready to see the Black Sea, along with every global supply line, for what it truly is? A place where the only certainty is surprise, and the real risk is failing to evolve? The lessons from this attack ripple far beyond the coastline. In our next segment, we dig into how regional players are already overhauling their strategies, and what it means for the next phase of this shadow conflict.